Netherite is... Mining for netherite is like spinning the roulette wheel. Yeah, you can win, but the chances are so low you may as well do a backflip for the first time in your life and hope you don't fall on your neck. There's zero, and I mean zero skill or clues to find netherite. Yeah, there's the best Y level you can find with a Google search, but that hardly helps. There's a bunch of methods to find netherite. Strip mining, bed mining, my ass mining, but the absolute best method of finding netherite is... You basically have to become a pyromaniac to get the best gear in Minecraft. You need a lot of sand and gunpowder for this to work, but it's worth it, since doing any other method is borderline insanity. Strip mining means you are constantly missing ancient debris. Solely looting bastions for ancient debris will get you nowhere, and going to large pools of lava and using a trick to see underneath it to find ancient debris is about as useful as an iron golem. TNT is just the only effective and productive method, and the netherrack is weak to TNT, so the ground covered is better. You could also use beds as an alternative, but last I checked, beds are not stackable. And I don't know about you, but if I was playing in hardcore, I wouldn't risk my life right-clicking on an exploding bed. TNT requires a lot of resources, but gunpowder isn't that hard to come by, especially if you have a mob farm. But even the TNT method takes a long time. By the time you're done getting your ancient debris, you will have created a cavern. The reality is, mining for netherite is a grindy and luck-based disaster where even the so-called best method will still take ages unless you just bite the bullet and use X-ray. They call it ancient debris because you'll be ancient by the time you get it. Even if you get enough ancient debris and begin smelting it, you don't get a netherite ingot. That's right, that's what you get for working in the mines like a middle-aged father of 5. You get netherite scrap. Yeah, more like netherite crap. You need 4 gold ingots and 4 pieces of netherite scrap to make a full netherite ingot.
What? Gold? Why gold? You're telling me the strongest material in the game is half made of gold, one of the weakest materials when it comes to tools and armor. I mean, even wood lasts longer. How does that make any sense?
Child. Anyway, so...
Finally, you've crafted a netherite ingot. Now you gotta make one more for a sword. You do the whole process and get another netherite ingot. You try to make a sword and guess what? It doesn't work. Who do you think you are trying to make tools and armor like you've been doing, not only at the start of the game,
but since the early alpha versions of the game? What type of nonsense is this?
The only way to craft netherite gear is by getting a smithing template from a bastion remnant, and you need to put that template on a smithing table. Alright, why are we changing the rules now? The game has already established that armor is crafted like this. But fine, you get your smithing template from the bastion, if it even has one. Think about that for a second. You risk your life fighting these piglin brutes that do 3 hearts of damage with full diamond armor, and you're telling me that there is a chance there isn't even the loot you're looking for? Alright, you got your smithing table, your netherite template, and your netherite ingot. Now you just need a diamond sword and armor, which you should have already. If you go to the nether with just iron gear, you've already sealed your fate. At last, you get your first piece of netherite gear, only to realize that the smithing template is one-time use only.
Holy shit!
What a clown fiesta. First of all, if you didn't know about duplicating the template, you are f***ed. Better risk your life again and find another bastion. Why does the template get consumed anyway? So if I built something in real life using a template, you're telling me that the blueprints will just disappear? You need diamonds and netherrack to create more templates. In total, you need 6 netherite smithing templates and 6 ingots to create a sword, pickaxe, and a full armor set, which is the gear you'll use the most. To get all that, you need 24 ancient debris, which is a f***ing nightmare, and a whopping 71 diamonds for the diamond gear and smithing templates. And that's for only one person. We haven't even taken account the enemy you have to fight to get the templates. The piglin brutes are one of the strongest enemies in the game. They usually attack you in groups, and bastions generate in a way that they could easily get the drop on you, literally. Not to mention they move fast and knock down your shield, and on top of that they hit like a truck, while having an absurd amount of health. I mean, just look at it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 hits to kill 1! So there's two ways of dealing with these enemies. Shoot them from afar with a bow, or go in prepared with full and enchanted diamond gear, which seems like the intended way bastions were meant to be explored. Well, here it is. Full netherite armor with a sword and pickaxe. Cover me in debris? More like cover me in dog shit. Now let's talk about the upgrades from diamond to netherite armor.
1.
Netherite armor lasts longer, which is nice, but to be honest, I never noticed that much of a difference in durability. And when I looked it up, I found out why. Turns out the durability is only a 12% increase from diamond armor. Kind of disappointing when you compare iron to diamond. 2. Netherite armor doesn't actually offer any extra protection from diamond armor, but it does offer slightly more armor toughness though, which gives more protection against mobs who hit really hard, such as Vindicators, Endermen, and of course, Piglin Brutes.
3.
The armor doesn't melt in lava, which isn't really that big of a deal unless you're a clown and somehow manage to fall in a pit of lava and die. I thought it provided fire protection, but that does not seem to be the case. However, if you are in lava, the armor doesn't take any durability damage. Maybe that's why it's only a 12% increase. Finally, netherite armor comes with knockback resistance built into it, so I guess it helps with skeletons and other mobs that knock you back. So the improvements from diamond are 12% more durability, 40% knockback resistance, immunity to lava, and slightly more armor toughness. Now this is purely my opinion, but the reward to grind scale is trash! On normal difficulty, netherite armor is straight up pointless. Diamond armor is more than enough to deal with any threat in the entire game. At least on hard mode, netherite is more enticing since mobs deal much more damage. But even then, you can still have prot 4 diamond gear and you'll be fine. In fact, the damage difference between full enchanted diamond and netherite is honestly minuscule. My problem with netherite armor is that it's not a worthwhile reward. But when it comes to weapons, that's a different story. More specifically, the netherite sword. Unlike the armor, crafting a netherite sword is worthwhile because it actually reaches a few breakpoints that a diamond sword couldn't reach. For example, a sharpness 5 diamond sword can only 2-shot most mobs except the zombie, but it needs to be a fully charged hit. But since the netherite sword gets 1 extra damage point, yes, it can 2-shot all of the basic mobs in the game, even if it's not a fully charged swing. That is a huge deal, especially when it comes to creepers. The damage difference is great against other mobs too. Even if it's only 1 less hit, that is still a game changer. And with other enchantments like Smite, the netherite sword reaches a few breakpoints with that as well. Smite 5 will allow you to one-shot zombies and skeletons, and if you're fighting the Wither, that is a big damage boost. When it comes to the axe though, netherite isn't as much of an upgrade. Why? Because the axe doesn't reach any breakpoints at all. Yeah, you get 1 more point of damage like the sword, but it means nothing because you are still killing mobs in the same amount of hits as before. The only difference between a diamond axe and netherite axe is the durability, but that means nothing if you have mending. So the sword is worth it, but the axe is not. In fact, the axe is a waste. And the tools? I think you already know what I'm gonna say. Tools from diamond to netherite stay the same for the most part. Yeah, they're faster, but only by a millisecond. A diamond pickaxe is the best tool obviously, but if you have efficiency 5 already, a netherite pickaxe will make almost no difference. Like a 0.1 second difference. Wow. So again, it's only a durability increase. Same can be said with the netherite shovel. A netherite hoe is a joke, but so is a diamond hoe, let's be honest. If you wanted to mine some shulk, maybe making a netherite hoe would be worth it. There is also an advancement for making one, which is actually the reason why I did. The final issue I have with netherite is the fact that the game is already over by the time you get it. You'll have done most of the content in the game, so what do you use the netherite on? Because if I work so hard to get it, I want to actually use it on something. The Wither is really the only boss you could use it on. I guess you could also purposely avoid the Ender Dragon until you get netherite, but that'll take some time. Don't forget how long it takes to get ancient debris. For me, I've always played Minecraft with one goal in mind: defeat all of the bosses. The Wither, the Ender Dragon, Elder Guardian, the Raid, and the Warden. If I don't have a goal, I just feel aimless. And I'm not the type of player to create goals for myself. I'm not interested in a forever world, and I'm no creative builder. The homes I make in my worlds are either in a cave or literally just a box with everything in it for the sake of convenience. Which sounds strange, but that's how I play Minecraft. That's how I like to play Minecraft. The Warden is the strongest mob in the game, which is why I want to defeat him. And Netherite is the strongest gear in the game, which is why it's so disappointing that it's barely an upgrade. In fact, you don't even need it to defeat the Warden. You just need Turtle Master and Diamond Armor. It leaves me to ask, who was Netherite made for? People who like to just build don't benefit from it, since Diamond and Netherite mine at almost the same speed. Durability is such a non-factor, since you could just make backup diamond pickaxes. PvP players might benefit from it being in the game, but I haven't played PvP Minecraft since before the combat update, so I can't really say much there. I can only see Netherite being worth it on hardcore, since I leave nothing to chance if the punishment for dying is permadeath. In that case, I'll gladly take any upgrade, even if it's small. But still, the process of getting Netherite just takes way too long, man. The game makes you work so hard, and for what? Whenever I mine Netherite, I always use X-ray, and I feel no shame in doing so. I've gotten it legit once, and that's enough for me. Should Mojang buff Netherite? Sure, why not? Would it be overpowered? Maybe, but you're already overpowered if you have max enchantments on everything, which isn't that hard to get if you live in a village. You may as well give the players the satisfaction of feeling powerful, like how most players feel when getting diamond armor. You just don't get that feeling with Netherite when you should. I think Netherite armor should give you fire resistance, more durability, and increase your max health slightly. Would those changes truly break the game? I don't think so. The Netherite tool should be buffed across the board because as of right now, you are way better off just making diamond tools. The sword you can keep the same, but buff the axe a little so that it actually becomes an upgrade from diamond, as it should be. You might be asking, oh, if they buff Netherite, that will just overshadow diamonds and make them irrelevant. Well, that just sounds like a big problem, doesn't it? What a dilemma we find ourselves in. Makes you wonder, maybe Mojang should have never created Netherite in the first place.